If you've been scrolling through endless lists of welders, watching video after video of people touting the best machine, and still feel stuck wondering which one actually lives up to the hype, you're not alone. I've been there spending a weekend comparing MIG, TIG, and stick options, trying to picture how each would fit into my garage and my weekend project schedule, only to end up more confused. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review I'm going to break down the Miller Multimatic 215 Pro the way a real-world user would, so you can see whether its versatility actually saves you time and money, or if you'd be better off focusing on a single process machine. First, let's talk about why the multi-process claim matters. Most hobbyists and small shop owners end up buying separate welders for MIG, TIG, and stick because each process has its own sweet spot. MIG is fast and forgiving for sheet metal, TIG gives you the precision you need for thin aluminum or stainless, and stick is the go-to when you're dealing with rusty, dirty steel outdoors. The Multimatic 215 Pro promises to cover all three with a single power source, and that's a big deal if your projects swing between automotive bodywork, a backyard sculpture, and a repair on a farm fence. The question is whether the compromises built into a jack-of-all-trades machine actually hold up when you put them to the test. One of the first things I noticed when I unpacked the unit was the dual voltage capability. It can run off a standard 120-volt household outlet or a 240-volt circuit if you have the hookup. For most home garages that only have a 120V outlet, this means you can start welding right away without rewiring the shop. When I needed the extra heat for an inch steel plate, I simply switched the input to 240V, and the welder ramped up its output without any fiddly adjustments. That flexibility alone saves a lot of hassle, especially if you're renting a space that only provides one type of power. The next big feature is the pulsed MIG and pulsed TIG capability. In plain terms, pulsing means the welder alternates between high and low current at a rapid rate, which smooths out the heat input. For MIG, that translates to less spatter and a cleaner bead on thin aluminum, something I saw when I tackled a custom-fabricated fuel tank for a project car. The pulsed TIG mode helped me maintain a tight bead width while welding 2mm stainless steel, preventing the kind of warping you get when you apply too much constant heat. If you've ever struggled with uneven TIG beads on thin material, this pulsing can be a game changer, but it does come with a learning curve. The machine's auto-set function walks you through basic parameters, yet you'll still need to spend a couple of hours dialing in the right pulse frequency for your specific material thickness. Miller's BeadVision technology is another practical aid. The welder displays a real-time visual of the arc voltage, letting you see if you're staying within the optimal window for the selected process. In my experience, that visual cue helped me avoid underpenetration when I was welding a piece of reclaimed steel that had a rusted surface. I could see the voltage dip and instantly adjust the stick electrode length, saving me a bunch of rework. It's not a feature that makes the machine sing, but for anyone who isn't a welding professor, that instant feedback can reduce the trial-and-error time dramatically. Program memory is where the Multimatic 215 Pro starts to feel like a small workshop assistant. It stores up to 3 custom settings per process, so you can switch between a MIG setting for thin sheet metal, a TIG setting for aluminum, and a stick setting for heavy-duty steel with the push of a button. I set up one profile for my automotive work, another for a DIY furniture project that used inch stainless, and a third for a fence repair on the farm. The ability to recall those exact parameters means you're not constantly re-entering numbers, which is a real time saver when you're juggling multiple jobs in a single day. Now, let's talk about the trade-offs. Because the machine tries to be everything, it isn't the absolute best at any single process. The MIG output tops out at about 200A, which is plenty for most hobbyist applications but falls short if you're looking to weld thick structural steel in a commercial setting. The same goes for TIG. While the pulsed mode is excellent for thin material, you'll notice a slower duty cycle when you push the amperage higher, meaning you'll have to pause more often to let the machine cool. In my case, that didn't hinder the occasional heavy-duty job, but a professional fabricator who needs continuous high-heat welding might feel limited. Another practical weakness is the weight. At roughly 90 pounds, it's not something you'll want to move around your shop frequently. If you have a dedicated welding station, that's fine, but for a mobile contractor who needs to load the unit onto a truck bed daily, the heft could become a nuisance. The included cart is